All right, so we're going to go through this real quick. This is the absolute most elaborate rig I've ever put together. And wow, it's great. So here's how it goes. Plug my guitar in here. The guitar goes in through all these pedals. I've done a lot of tests, and honestly, the sound is almost identical. I don't know if they're just higher quality, better cabling, buffered, whatever. But that goes in up into the input in the radial. I can't tell you how great this thing is. What is it called? I can't remember what it's called. A radial something. But it's a 4-banger hub, and then 3 of them have ground lift and, you know, like polarity flip. So the way I've got it is I've got 1 and 2 are coming out here, going into guitar amps, so I can do 2 amps at a time. One of them I think is over here, which can go into either the Axe-Fx or the Kemper, and then one comes out to the DI, which has a through that comes out to the Sans amp. So that's the big split, and that's it. So either I'm going into amps or I'm going into like Axe-Fx or Kemper. And then these pedals are in front. They're all like kind of tone shaping. For studio work, this EQ is like, yeah, perfect. I mean, that is non-negotiable for the way I like to work. And I love this little woodshed compressor. I had that big Cali 76 before. It's just too heavy sounding. This is just nice. And then, you know, a couple of EP Booster, King of Tone, Lightspeed, and just a fuzz, which I've got other pedals down here that I can switch over. I've got a Wahoo wah and an Ernie Ball pedal, little volume. Now, here are this is what's in the loop. So I've got Axe-Fx in the loop, the H90, and the Timeline and the Big Sky MX. So the way you know, I don't know that a lot of people were doing this. I didn't ever see anybody doing it or hear about it, but I started to think about, like, hey, what if I was to use 2 amps and then take, let's say, the left side in and out from these stereo pedals into 1 amp, and then the right side into the other amp, and use the loops like in stereo. So it has been a journey to really learn how to do this, because I don't know, now thinking back, there's really nothing to it, but it just took me a long time to get everything to jive. So I've got a loop set up here coming out of the, yeah. So it's in and out 3, so that's all plugged in through, you know, through the back here. And and just keeping everything at 10 is like unity gain. I've done a lot of testing. That's the thing too. I have tested every single one of these things. And then every time I add something new, I kind of have to do a retest. But it is perfect. So what I've got in the loop is the Fractal stereo, the H90 stereo, the Timeline stereo, and the Big Sky MX stereo. And one side right now is going into the Sir, and the other side is going into the Matchless. Now, you know, getting left and right to jive, I realized yesterday that the left was heavy, you know, volumes being all the same, effects were heavy on the left. Now, keep in mind, on some of these, especially on the presets, they will be heavy one side or the other, because that's a part of like the imaging or whatever. So they're not all just like left, right, like that. It's like they're doing this anyway. But by putting in my own like echo left and rights and whatever, making it identical, I could then see that the left was heavy. And at that point, the Sir was in the left, and I did some research, which didn't really get me anywhere. I just had to figure it out on my own. Yeah, I did some research with the Eventide and with the amp, and made some calls, and kind of didn't get, I think people were trying to give me the answer. I just it's like I just had to tool through it because I had to know how it worked. So needless to say, there's a knob on the back of the Suhr. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a return level. Oh, so I had that at Unity Gain. Well, the loop volume on the Matchless and the loop volume on the Mark V are pretty much identical. That's the standard loop. Those are both good loops. You know, they're good. They work good. The Suhr loop is like, I think, a little bit of a whoop-de-doo loop. It's like, I don't know, it's like a tube loop or something. I don't know. I watched a thing with Pete Thorne about it. But this thing at Unity Gain is double the volume of these. So I guess if you were just using this and you wanted to get maximal like effects up the woo-ha, you know, center pan it, Unity Gain, you know, put it up to noon. What it ended up being was it was like it had to go back down to here, and that's what I did. So trying to figure out how to, it was not easy. What I did was, what did I do? I recorded like a mono guitar, so left and right was exactly the same, and then I was able to send it, and I was able to check also the H90 separately, because at first I was like, well, I just brought this H90 and maybe this is it, you know, and then I figured out like, no, it was cool. It was this, and then once I looked and I was like, oh wow, because then, you know, you do the flipping cables and you see if it's following the amp, which that was really weird. Oh my God, because flipping cables didn't matter, because the loop, if I put this on the right and then this on the left, the loop was still the same. I was like, oh, then I had to switch the loop, and then I could see that it was following the Suhr. And then all I did was send a signal, and I just used my eyes and my ears, and I just kept walking back there, do this, walk out, do this, walk that, do this, walk that, and then that was it. And it is beautiful, which I'll get into. So if you're a person that's like into geeking and like, you're my kind of homie, because you guys know I'm a geeker on all this. The other thing too was like, I was able to test and get my, another thing was not easy, was to get my DI, which is this A Designs KGB, and the Little Labs Ready, which is the reamp. I got these two. I figured out how to get them as neutral and transparent, and between volumes and how they record into Pro Tools and how it spit out and the settings on the Little Lab. And I got it where I ran a DI, I reamped it. It sounded one way. I took the same exact guitar plug straight into the amp, and it sounded like 95% the same. That was it. That was as close as I could get. But it was fine. It was 90, you know, if it was a little bit brighter, I could always go click, and then it's not brighter. So this is all situated. So my DI is good. My reamp box is good. This radial thing, I can't think of what it's called. Workhorse? There's a name for it. I'll find it when I shoot the video right now. That thing is incredible. You know, for like $200 or something, and I love that thing. Yeah, so we'll just fire it up for a minute, and if you guys are putting together like a rig and you're overwhelmed, just keep going. Just keep, you know, like Dory, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming, and don't get overwhelmed. And yeah, this amp is killer. I've owned two. This is the second one, and the first one I struggled with it because my mind was in a different place. I wanted more saturation. I wanted more squish, and now that what I'm doing, I don't want. This is more than enough of that. Yeah, man, you know, tastes change, clients change, a lot of exciting things are happening, and, you know, I'm changing with it. All right, here we go. So check it out. All right, so check it out. First thing I want to do is go to radial amp selector or splitter. There it is. There it is. It's this radial headlight. This thing is so awesome. Best $300, man. I'm telling you. It sounds great. I mean, obviously radials, you know, those are the dudes, man. And use the drag thing, but yeah, it's got 4 outputs and 3 of them have lifts and phase flips. So, you know, your first one is the standard one and then everything works off of that. And it's just beautiful. It sounds great. So that was what I was talking about there. So anyway, here it is. So left side is the PT100 and this, we're going to move on. It's just, I've been really dealing with this. Here it is. And this is with the EQ on and the woodshed, and then Mark V on the right. Yeah, and together. Really nice, right? Just clean. A little bright, but it sounds good. I'll turn the EQ down. And that's where this EQ is so useful. Sometimes as the day progresses, because I track guitars kind of loud, I can't start to get a little brighter as I get deafer. Still a little bright, but that's fine. Okay. Yeah, here's a little with a little bit of EP booster on it. It takes a little of the top end off. So depending on if you want. Now going over to the Greer Lightspeed. That's just money. That's just absolute money. And that's both amps in the clean channel. The Matchless is in channel 1 with the 12AX7 preamp tube, and the Suhr is in channel 1, no boost or anything. It's just, this is just clean. But with a little bit of this lights. Here's the yellow side of the King of... Yeah, red side of the King of Tone. I'm starting to like this red side better with the cleans, because it's the yellow side I really like with the crunch, because there's something about the way it sounds. I just like it. But the red side has more goose, and it helps with the cleans to get where we want it. So red side. So in my world now, that's heavy. That's it. I mean, there'll be other stuff that goes heavier, but you'd be surprised, man. This country record that I just finished, I layered all these rhythm guitars, and I think it was mostly this setup. No, it was the Mark V and the Matchless in clean, and I was going between the Lightspeed and the yellow side. Here's the Lightspeed. And a lot of times I was doing like Lightspeed on one side with the Strat, and then the yellow side of the King of Tone on the other side with the Les Paul. And when you pan it, Oh, it's like an injection of yeah. That's the only way I can explain it. I'm gonna do walkthroughs on this record. We're just in the process of like negotiating a deal with a company. Let me first get it all sorted out. All right, now we'll go back to just clean. And then, so here's in line, and keep in mind the way this works is these loops are going left and right. One side is all Sir, the other side is all matchless. So if I do a delay, like a dual delay, I think this has a pain. Yeah. So you hear it go across, right? I always test to make sure I'm not doing something screwy, and I'll do that, right? And so here, yeah, and here's like the little pitch dude. Yeah, it's real nice. Then I've got a couple of delays here. That's like a Memory Man delay. And then this top line here can go in front. I can patch it in. It takes me like 10 seconds. I've got the cable. I just go click, and then I can utilize these and these phasers and chorus pedals. I can use these in front of the amp. I don't have it set up right now, but that's my effects loop basically, and you'll see it here. Effects JL James Lugo effects loop dash front. So this is the effects loop and the front of the amp. Right now, again, I just have it in the loop. So now we go, let's go over to the H90 real quick. So I just set up my first tape delay. And I got this perfectly left and right identical. This was my test. And sometimes it just would be what I want, basically. Yeah, 103. I have to set the tempo with global so that it stays that way for while I'm working on a song. Because if I had it set, I think, program, and then every time I went to another preset, it went back to 120. And if anybody knows how to type in this 103, it doesn't seem like you can. It's like you got to use the slider, which is a little wonky to try to find the thing, but there it is. So beautiful. And if it feels like it's leaning a little bit to the left, I can turn down the Sir's output. Do some wow and flutter. Who wants to do wow and flutter? Not the biggest wow and flutter guy. A little saturation, a little filter. So having perfect stereo left and right in a rig like this, I'm telling you, if they give out stars to guitar players that put rigs together, and just guitar players, not guys like it, the pedal places, and that's all they do is, just a regular dude, being me, this was a huge accomplishment. It's perfect. It's hard when you're doing delays because you really got to wait before you start talking because you cut out the talking. Got spillover on, I shut it off. And now if I go here, and now here is digital delay at 103. on the timeline. I love the timeline delay. I'm the eventide delay, as I've gotten better with it, has grown on me, but it's not. It doesn't have the same weight or leading edge. So for me, when I'm playing, it feels less rhythmical. That's the only way I can explain it. Like, for a lot of years, I used like a TC 2290, so I'm used to a certain kind of feel to it. It's not just like hitting on the note. It's different, right? So here's like the timeline. Now I kill that, and now same thing with the H9. It's better, and it's better. It's getting better, but I will say it's harder to play too. The timeline just feels like peanut butter and jelly. This is now I just put the timeline on. Well, a dude commented on my video yesterday about the echoes and everything, and he likes the Boss. So this is the thing, I think, with all this. Find what you like. Find what you love, right? Yeah, it sounds like a triggered. It sounds like it feels like a rifle. I don't know. There's just something about it. And then if I go to the H90, it's sterile. But the thing is that sometimes that's cool. So even if I try to add a little wow and flutter and a little more filter to it, here's the H90. Oh, here's the H90. See, it's almost like I like the H90 cleaner, so it'd be great for certain things like chords, right? But right? And now timeline. Yeah, it's just it's got more weight, and it like the volume or EQing, it sits differently in the framework of the sound. So timeline, timeline is staying on the dang board because that's just money. So now let's go over. We'll do a little of this. We're also 103, and here's Deluxe Mind Guy, which is kind of their bucket brigade. This is now Axe Effects. So here's what I'm realizing about, and this I have panned, wait. This is, you know, this is what I'm thinking with all this. You know what it is with this? Farty lardy. Lardy farty. That's the other way. Let me just shut. Yeah, let me shut this gate off. Let me go here, get rid of this. Let me save. That's how easy it is. Now, boom. It's not fixing it. The thing with the Axe effects, they're okay. To me, they're good. Like, the thing I really like is this detune. That's really nice. Their rotary is nice. I take it back. I mean, the rotary and the Mobius completely destroys this. Yeah, right? Chorus, don't bore us, get to the chorus. Yeah, it's just light. They're all light. They all just sound, let me do this. Let me go off and back on, just in case I blew something up. Yeah, back on. Let me just check this, make sure. Yeah, so that I've saved it there. That's cool. Everything's kind of lighter with this. So let's take that off the chopping block. And now you got the Big Sky MX. I haven't even really broached into this yet, but the few minutes that I did spend with it were glorious. Now the reverbs in the Eventide are pretty nice. Pretty nice. The reverbs on the Axe effects are pretty nice. The reverb in the Big Sky MX. Just killer. This is just preset 2B, tippy toes. It's just their plate. That's just the preset. I haven't even messed with it. And now we go to timeline, you know, digital delay at 103. Let me turn the mix down a little bit on the Big Sky. Little less Big Sky. Big Sky MX. Yeah. And there's also what's the algorithm when it's when the reverb is like a sample of the reverb. I don't know. I can't think of what they call it, but there's some of that in there too. And I think you can put in your own reverbs. Like, again, I haven't really broached it. And now we'll go back to this tape delay in the Eventide. See, that's going to be awesome a lot of times, because sometimes I'm not going to want the mojo of the timeline. And this is what I'm learning. Sometimes too much character, too much gain, too much mojo, too much all this stuff is not good, especially when you're doing pop or country pop for girls or kids or young girls or young boy. Like, these voices are not fully formed. If you overdo the track, you run the risk of barreling over the singer. As a producer and a session guitar player and this guy, if I barrel over the singer, I have failed. I have failed. End of story. So... All right, I gotta go. Oh, it's 12. I gotta teach. I ran over. I hope this all helps you guys. If anybody has any questions, they're trying to do this craziness in their own studio or their own guitar rig, you can email me, james@jameslugo.com. I charge $1,000 a minute for consultations. No, I'm just kidding. Just hit me up, james@jameslugo.com. We can talk about this stuff because sometimes you just need to talk to somebody. It's cool to, like, you know, somebody posts something or you read something or you watch a video, but sometimes you just gotta, like, hey, this is what's happening. I don't even know how to, like, put it in words to search it. You know, that's nice with me. I'm like, oh, it's doing this. And like, okay, yeah, they know what it is. So, and james@jameslugo.com if you need any help. I'm here.